Glass Hour believes in giving back and giving credit where credit is due. Our number one goal is to make a difference. The music you hear on the Smoking Glass Hour comes from Purple Planet Music. They can be found at www.purple-planet.com. Go check them out. It's time to take back control of our society. Today's world requires an open and honest discussion about the current events. On the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass, our goal is to engage people from different walks of life into a healthy discussion, creating a positive outcome. When it comes to global events, tune in to the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass on Monday nights at 7:30. We don't just listen to the news, we bring you the news. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass. We are honored to have you as a guest tonight and want to thank each of you for your faithful support. Without further delay, allow me to introduce to you Mr. Baron Glass. Mr. Glass, take it away.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass on tonight, Thursday, January 21st, 2016. We'll be talking to Miss Tammy Durden and Mr. Wes Seaton. Tammy Durden is the president and CEO of Tammy's Office Solution. Tammy's Office Solution has years of experience providing professional, reliable office support for small to mid-sized businesses, Mid-Atlantic region, and throughout the United States. We are located right outside of the Richmond, Virginia area, yet are able to provide virtual business services worldwide. We specialize in assisting businesses and professionals with a variety of business services, including virtual administration, social media, bookkeeping, branding, websites, and more. We provide uniquely personal virtual services while empowering disabled professionals to work. Our mission statement is this: providing uniquely personal virtual services for our clients while empowering disabled professionals to work. In doing this, we accomplish two main mission goals: providing personal, custom support services for our clients, often anticipating their needs beforehand, empowering disabled professionals to work and dream big dreams. Next, we have Mr. Wes Seaton, Business Development, Commonwealth of Virginia. William has experience in working in the human services field since 1992 and understands that skilled, dependable, and productive employees are important to business success. As an agency dedicated to increasing employment opportunities to people with disabilities, DARS services as a virtual link is connecting employers with higher needs to skilled and talented workers with disabilities who are actively seeking employment. Currently market businesses services to local businesses in the metro Richmond area that focuses on staffing and recruitment, workplace accommodation, and financial tax incentive. Specialties are workforce development, business and staffing services, tax incentive knowledge, disability awareness, business training. Business Development Management, Department of Aging and Rehabilitative Services, February 2004 to present, Richmond, the Virginia area. Develops and coordinates job development, on-the-job training contracts throughout the metro Richmond area. Researches and develops contacts with businesses in the area to inform them of available workforce business solutions that are available to them. Meets with business leaders and human resource professionals to discuss the value and benefits of hiring persons with disabilities. Informs, educates, and maintains ongoing relationships with them about DARS services and other community resources. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Miss Tammy Durden and Mr. William Seaton. Tammy and William, how are you doing?
Hi, how are you doing, Mr. Glass? Thank you for having me.
I believe William likes to be called Wes. Is that correct, Wes?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. Tammy and Wes, what I'll do is, Tammy, I'll let you start first. Is there anything else that you'd like to add to your bio? And then, Wes, I'll allow you to come in right after Tammy. So go ahead, Tammy.
Certainly. One of the things, I guess, you've read very well what our company does and everything, but I probably didn't give much of a personal touch to it. But just so you know, I'm a mother and wife, and so I have 3 children and a wonderful daughter-in-law and a granddaughter. I'm a new grandmother. And then I also, myself, was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis nearly 14 years ago, and became disabled, and also have a few other things. But so I learned firsthand how difficult it is to find work being disabled and with certain limitations, but I don't like to call them that because we have so many more abilities that we can give to the workplace. And so in creating my business, when I did that, I knew that we got to a place where I could really begin to, have enough work that I could help others too who were disabled. I really wanted to do that, and that was one of my passions. And that's how Wes and I met, because I contacted Department of Rehab to see if maybe they could help supply some of the needs that I had for the workforce, and to be able to help empower some of their individual clients and things like of that nature.
Okay, Wes?
The only thing I'd like to add to my bio is, I enjoy my job. I've been doing it for 23 years, and it's good to be able to get up in the morning and know that you're doing something to help improve someone's life. So.
Okay, Tammy and Wes, my specific goal has always been, from day one, based on the teaching from my mother, who raised myself and my 3 sisters, me being the only boy, which has always been to help those who cannot help themselves. And when you look all across the country, in many jobs, many workplaces, and things of that nature, how hard is it for those with disabilities, sometimes not even their own fault, when they go in and look for these jobs? How do you guys focus in on helping those individuals? Because I want to make sure that you guys encourage other people to stand up after tonight and support people that have disabilities and things of that nature, because after all, they are human, they are special, and they are just like we are, just some things that just don't work in their favor. So I'll let you go first, Tammy, and then Wes, you can chime in.
Thank you. Well, one of the things that, of course, with myself being disabled, one of the things that I learned very quickly with working with DARS, as well as DBVI, which is Department of Blind and Visually Impaired, I found out that the unemployment rate is significantly higher than the general population. So especially for those with visual disabilities, it's 90% or higher. And when I found that out, I thought that's unacceptable. That just seemed so unfair to me. And I just feel like that a lot of people with disabilities, and one of the things that I really enjoy about my job, besides helping my clients, is that when I can empower a disabled professional to work, and I have all the time when I interview them, it just breaks my heart. I've had people tell me, when I tell them how much, the job's going to pay, I've had people tell me that they would work for free. They just want to have a purpose. And to me, that's so sad. That's so unfair. And so I just really am so glad that we are taking steps to get there, but we're not there yet. And the way the system is set up, too, it's very difficult at times, because some of the people that I have worked with in the past also, and Wes will talk more about this probably because he can talk more to the system, but I can only talk to personal experience and what has happened when I've tried to help. Now, I have many that I work with still, but I have had cases where, unfortunately, those who do collect disability and other SSI and all that, and Wes, please talk about that because you know all the different nuances to that. But either end up being penalized for working, in other words, so they have money taken away from their disability, and so here they are trying to make a little bit more because disability isn't that much. I personally do not collect, but those who do don't get that much, and so the little bit of part-time that I can give them is just a little bit more to help them and help families. However, some of them on different types of services will be penalized and have money taken away. The other thing that I found out was, and this was a rare case, I know, but we did have an individual who was really, really hoping to work, young and really going to school too, very disabled, but unfortunately because of the way the system was, the person was unable to work with me because they would have been penalized to the extent that it would have taken all of their benefits away, and they would not have been able to do that. So those are just some of the frustrations, but I also have great joy in seeing the disabled professionals grow in confidence and grow in their abilities. And I'll tell you, many of them have wonderful skills as well as degrees, from AA to master's degrees, but yet they're not being used in the workplace. And it's just a tragedy in that sense. So I hope many will be empowered tonight to hear how wonderful it is to work with disabled professionals. A lot of them have a drive and a desire even more, and will be more loyal and everything else because they want to be there so bad. So maybe, Wes, you can talk to some of those other things for us.
Okay, thanks, Tammy.
Well, I guess part of the system, Baron, is the vocational rehabilitation system is in every state. So there is a vocational rehab system in Louisiana, and that's kind of the entryway for somebody with a disability that wants to work. So, and then there's some federal initiatives that the Obama administration have signed in as executive orders with hiring practices within the federal government, saying that the federal government and all their hires will hire 7% of their total hires will be people with disabilities. So that's changing a little bit. Surveys for some employers last year from the Department of Labor showed that the unemployment rate for people with disabilities was 12.5%. compared to 7.6% for people without disabilities. But what we're seeing now in human resources is we're seeing a lot of human resource organizations responding to creating inclusive workplaces for not only people with disabilities, but for staff overall. So companies are quickly figuring out that the more inclusive they are, the more access they're going to have to sourcing talent to fill their positions. So you have companies like Yahoo, Google, Capital One. They've got all these diversity initiatives. They're embedding it in their corporate culture, and that's helping push a little more towards hiring more people with disabilities. And you also need to remember that people with disabilities, we have about 54 million in the United States that have a disability. But you're looking at $200 billion in discretionary spending. So when you look at the group as a whole of people with disabilities, keep in mind, disability doesn't discriminate based on the color of your skin or your religion or anything. Anybody can acquire disability at any time. But what companies are realizing is the discretionary spending power of this group is an untapped resource. So a lot of companies are looking at it that way. And then, of course, we have some other federal laws that have come into play. Businesses in general that take more than $50,000 of money from the federal government fall under all kinds of different regulatory statute laws on you must be diverse in your recruiting practices. You need to try and recruit, all kinds of folks. So, there's an advantage of that. A lot of companies are starting to create inclusive cultures. They're trying to be a little bit better in how they market their brand, how they write their written materials, how they advertise, and how they market. So, I can't speak for Louisiana, but in the Commonwealth of Virginia, last year we placed 4,822 people with disabilities into a job. So that's not bad. And you figure out of our total population in Virginia, about 1.8 million people in Virginia, about a third of our total population are disabled.
Tammy, you mentioned something that kind of struck me. You said that the unemployment is higher with this particular group. And then when we look at the high unemployment, I venture to say that you can correct me if I'm wrong, and if I'm right, then I think we need to discuss it and find out how we can minimize it and or stop it. I venture to say that this particular population of the country is probably discriminated against more so than others. Would that be correct, Tammy and Wes?
Yeah, I mean, people misunderstand in general, when we misunderstand something, sometimes we think we have something right when it's really wrong. But the American with Disabilities Act was passed in 1990, which really isn't that long ago if you think about it.
Right.
We just celebrated the 25th anniversary. But a lot of people don't understand what the ADA is for. The law, it's a putative law. It's a civil rights act. It protects people with disabilities from being infringed upon in 5 different categorical sections, employment being one. So I think a lot of times, and I don't know, Tammy might be able to give her opinion on it, but I think a lot of times people are, they just don't understand what it is, and it's stigmatized.
Right.
And they are discriminated against,
Right.
And they're disenfranchised as well. Yeah.
Right. Tammy?
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. Well, I'll just give you an example. When I go into a store and say most of the time I can use my forearm crutch, but if I have to use my scooter if I'm having a bad day, and I'm with my family and I go into a store and I go through the line at the register, and I want to pay them, they're looking at my family. They don't even look at me at all. So it's like I'm not even there.
Right.
And so my husband has even said, she's trying to pay you.
Right.
At times. And so it's just very interesting. I think people either take a couple reactions to it in general in the population, not talking necessarily about employment, but just in general, we tend to either be afraid of things we don't understand or know or that are different, or we take the approach that we overly, go the other way, trying to help in an over exuberant way, I guess. And that is sometimes that seems almost fake, So I think that definitely, especially with the numbers that Wes has explained tonight,
right.
There are so many more people in America that are disabled that probably many people didn't even realize. And I think that we do have to be more aware of those things. Now, for myself, I do better working from home because of my MS and fatigue and balance. I can work much longer, harder at home in my office environment than if I tried to go out and work. There's many others like that, and there's so many more virtual opportunities now because we do live in a very virtual world at this point. And so that is a whole new opportunity opening up for many disabled professionals because I, hear that often. So I'm very happy about that, but I also think, as Wes is talking, as more larger companies come along and really see, and I know the conference that you and I went to, Wes, not long ago was, really focusing on placing, them, and also just even educating employers and HR people about, what are the benefits of hiring a disabled professional, because they have all the skills that you need. There might be a few different tweaks you have to make, but most of the time, Department of Rehab is going to be there and help with that. It's amazing how much, like when I bring somebody into our team, if they have gone through Department of Rehab, they help set up their office at home. It's amazing. It's incredible because they will get them a computer, they will get them special equipment if needed. The JAWS equipment for those who are visually impaired, and it's just incredible to me. They help train them if I need to help or whatever, but they will give them the training if needed, if there's anything special that's needed. And so there's really a lot of resources if employers realize what's there. And I'm a very small business, but DARS is willing to work with me. Department of Rehab, will work with me and with those on my team. So I know when it comes to even larger companies, they're of course going to, work with them as well and help them.
Well, I'll tell you, Tammy and Wes, right here on this particular broadcast, we've been able to let people become aware that homeless veterans exist and a lot of other things. And tonight we're listening to the specific facts regarding those who are disabled, which brings me to this. If we know that the disabled is being discriminated against, and that's just the reality of this particular country, and we look at how to empower disabled professionals to work while navigating our system, how do you guys go about empowering people when they know, based on what they probably have seen and heard, that it's harder out there because this company is not looking for this person, and this person has the qualities, then the abilities to do things, but they fall under this definition of disabled or disability. And when we look at that particular term, I want you guys, so the people out there can understand specifically, factually, define what makes a person or constitutes a person to be considered disabled or under Disability Act.
Well, actually, Baron, there's 5 different definitions of disability.
Okay.
There's the Social Security definition of disability. There's the medical term of disability. There's my department's term of disability. So that's a good point that you bring up, because if someone says they're disabled, it can run the gamut from multiple sclerosis to a cognitive disorder.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's one thing that people get very confused about is, especially if a student is in school and they get labeled as a special education student, they're labeled by the school system. So once that label is put on somebody, it stays there.
Right.
So there's a lot of different definitions of disability, but one of the things that the VR program in the Commonwealth of Virginia does is we felt the need to hire business managers to develop long-term sustainable relationships with companies, to go in and build relationships that last, because we all know that the wham, bam, thank you, ma'am approach doesn't work. You have to be consistently there to work with that company and help them, and it has to be a reciprocal relationship. So we have business managers. There's 5 of us that cover the Commonwealth of Virginia. I establish relationships with businesses, and then they begin to trust me, so that when someone does with a disability apply for one of their job openings, we can work through all those things.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times, human resource folks are hired to protect the interest of the business.
Right.
That's what they're hired to do. They're not hired to open your arms and give you a big hug and want to hire everybody. They're hired to protect that company from liability. So a lot of times they're afraid to ask the questions. They're afraid to. They don't really know what the ADA is.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something they worry about.
Right.
So a lot of times they'll partner and say, Capital One is a very large bank and they hire from us, and SunTrust is a very large bank and they hire from us. But a lot of times they work with me and ask me questions and say, I want to hire this person, but I'm afraid to ask him, if they can do the job or not. And
Mm-hmm.
then I just tell them, I say, well, if they can do the essential functions as it's stated in your job, then they're qualified.
Right.
People misunderstand what an accommodation is. An accommodation is not given if you cannot do the essential functions of the job. So everyone is very afraid of. They're afraid of that. They're afraid of being sued. We also have some advocacy. We have the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. We also have some other agencies that, they look at going after companies for doing things. And so everyone's kind of concerned. So we've been very successful in the Commonwealth of Virginia with having business managers to develop these long-term relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the relationship that matters.
Right.
That's really what it is.
Mm-hmm.
That's really what it is. Being able to pick. I had a young gentleman that got offered a job, and he uses a power wheelchair, and they're doing some remodeling. And this company is called Sabra, and they make hummus. And they wanted to hire him, and they said he's perfect for the job, but we don't think we can hire him. And I said, well, why not? And they said, well, we're remodeling the information technology department, and we don't have a ramp.
Mm-hmm.
Can't get up the ramp, and we're in a trailer, and we don't think you'd be able to navigate the trailer. So I went over and took a look, and I said, well, this Joe's main office is right out front, and there's parking, we cut curbing. I said, why don't you just put his office over here? And they looked at each other and said, that's a great idea. And they moved his office, and they hired. So a lot of times it's very simple. You figure most accommodations are under $500.
Right.
And so most of the things that you might use, like when your hands are full of groceries and you're trying to go inside and you've got that elongated door handle where you can put your elbow on it to open the door, most things that people with disabilities use, we use as well.
Right.
Because it makes our life easier too.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times, I find that we do a lot of education and a lot of awareness training to companies to say, this is how you work with somebody with a disability, this is how you talk to somebody with a disability. And really after the training, really the light bulb comes on and they're like, they're just people. They're just individuals that have abilities, and if they need something, they'll tell you. Or you can ask them. You can ask them any question you might want. So I think a lot of it's just fear, maybe sometimes. Maybe fear of saying the wrong thing or doing the wrong thing or acting the wrong way. So we do a lot of education and training to help companies embrace the fact that, you probably, 3 out of every 5 people have a disability to begin with. So if you were to survey your own company, you probably have a fair amount within your own organization.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So, yeah, it's just a lot of awareness. There's just a lot of awareness that we do, and a lot of the companies in my area, when they hire people, with disabilities, they're very pleasantly surprised because they show up and they do a great job. And if you think about it, somebody with a disability has to learn how to live with that disability.
Right.
Other than you or me,
mm-hmm.
we don't have to worry about it. So imagine dealing with that adversity your whole life and how to cope with that.
Right. Right.
So I usually tell HR people, I'm like, these people are some of the best folks you could ever even hope to hire.
Exactly.
And show up, do the right. So you just have to keep preaching the message.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what other way to do it, but I don't do it in a punitive way because, that doesn't accomplish anything. I try to be very open-minded about when people understand because it keeps the door open.
Right, more so like from an educational standpoint, because I venture to say, Wes, because I deal with specifically 504, kids that have to have accommodations under Section 504 of the federal law. So I'm very familiar with that, and that was the reason why I asked the previous question, with regards to the discrimination, because when you have sometimes a teacher that's in the classroom who feels like this child should not be receiving it, but the laws have already said that this child should receive it, they sometimes receive discrimination. And at that point is when we have to come in, step in, and defend for the child and make sure that all of these accommodation and exceptionalities are given. And I have someone who asked a question, from the live link, which is Tammy, you may want to answer this, and Wes, you can kick in. What types of jobs do you recommend for those who are basically visually impaired, and how do you empower those individuals to overcome that stigma that, I can't see, other people can see, and that puts me in a different category? How do you deal with that?
I've actually worked very closely with a lot of, like I said, I work with DBVI, the Department of Blind Visually Impaired, and I'm amazed that it's just amazing to me all they can do. I've worked with many of them on my team, and like I said, I really encourage anyone to absolutely contact their Department of Rehab whether or not they have they're collecting benefits or anything, because they're going to help direct them in where to get help and things like that. So basically, though, the basics are, when I bring somebody on, depending on what skill sets they have and what they want to do in my company. So, for instance, I have somebody that's doing virtual reception work right now in that category. And so there's sometimes a script involved and other things. And basically there's, the JAWS machine that helps read any kind of script for this person, as well as the person actually memorizes a lot of things too, and then it's just a matter of being pleasant on the phone and answering the phone line. As far as other things, anything to do with the computer and all of that, honestly, the Department of Blind and Visually Impaired has given all of the computer equipment, the training, everything that this person needed was there. They asked me what type of equipment, was needed, so I told them internet and computer and all of that to get this person up and running. And it's just amazing to me what there is available for someone who really wants to work in that category.
Right. But again, Tammy, you know what's available because, you have to deal with it on a daily basis. And what I want to do is make sure that those who may feel, I'm going to use the word elite or better or whatever the case may be, I want them to understand that we as a country, we work better and we do better when we are inclusive and include all people, regardless as to what their disability or whatever preference that may exist. And oftentimes, when you go in some of these offices, and again, I see this, all the time, where you have somebody who have no disabilities, they sometimes can be just as cruel and harsh to people that are just basically trying to make one step to the other, by way of mobile skills. But they have a genuine heart, they have a great mind, and I want people to understand that you guys are human just like anybody else, and you deserve the same treatment as I do with anybody else. And I want to make sure that is stressed, because I want to try to make a difference with everybody by including everybody in what it is that we do.
Absolutely. And I think it is hard when you're disabled. And the other thing is that what I find a lot of is that they're so disheartened
right.
by the time they get to be able to work with me. And that's where I find once I am able to work with somebody and they begin to work, that confidence to build and everything else. And so it's almost like a circle of, because you feel so beaten down sometimes as a disabled professional, and you go in and then you go out and you get those kind of looks and treatment and all of that thing, and it almost has to come from within. But at the same time, just like you're saying, as a country, we need to be able to recognize that. I mean, Wes, you were saying, I think a third of our population here are disabled. Right. So, everybody you come in contact, like let's just say 3 out of 5 are disabled. So in one way or another, and it might not even be on the outside, but they, have other things. So we all have, the way I say it, really we all have disabilities in different ways, whatever that is.
Right.
Whether that be, an outside disability or something because of our past or history or whatever it is.
Right.
But we all have things. But if we can embrace one another, be willing to help each other and overcome some of those things, what a better country it would be.
Right.
That's not perfection, of course, but I really think that if more businesses would open their doors, be willing to do that. And as Wes has explained, a lot of people with disabilities, they are more loyal than any others that I've worked with, more trustworthy. I mean, it's just incredible. And I'm that way too, though, so I understand that. And I just really believe that I just think we have to be more aware of that. That it's wonderful to empower them.
Right. So Tammy and Wes, I'm almost certain this happens, but I try to be open-minded and forward-thinking to try to be as descriptive as possible. Do individuals that have the disabilities or fall under that particular category, let's say some type of Fortune 500 company, because they have certain exceptionalities, and we have this big time, boss or supervisor, whatever. Do disabled individuals experience bullying at a higher rate than just regular individuals? How does that work in the job force for disabled individuals?
Well, a lot of it depends on whether the person chooses to disclose to the employer that they have a disability.
Okay.
If they don't disclose to the employer that they have a disability, and their work performance, is not, say they're hired somewhere and their work performance is fine, and then they have some issues with their disability, but they don't tell anyone, and they start missing time from work. The employer really can't ask directly, what's going on. They can go in and say, hey, I noticed that you're having a harder time doing some of your assignments. Is there anything that I need to be aware of or anything I need to know, or can we help you in any way? And if they choose not to disclose, then, the company can move to fire them, and they really don't have any the person with the disability really doesn't have much of a recourse because they chose not to disclose. A lot of it just depends on how they set the precedence when they're hired. If they're, if they go to the interview, and they're offered the job, and then they disclose when they get offered the position, and they request an accommodation and it's given, then they're pretty much covered from being bullied or pushed out. But yet again, they have to be a good employee too. We've had some people that have tried to use, just like with anything, you always have people that try and find door number 2, and it doesn't make it better for the other folks. So it really kind of depends what happens. But I don't really think, in my experience, I haven't had a lot of folks I've worked with in the Commonwealth of Virginia that have been bullied.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
It's been a good thing.
Right. Yeah. It really is. Tammy, let me ask you this, and then I'm gonna bring it to you, Wes, just in a different question. I know you do virtual, Tammy. So when you're dealing with potential clients, how do you find the self-motivation and empower yourself to go in and have the confidence that's needed, to potential land that client? And Wes, when you're meeting with business leaders and human resources professionals to discuss all of this, how do you empower yourself to, realize that, hey, I am somebody, I can do this job, and I need to make sure that they do, because I want other people to be encouraged by what you guys' personal testimonies are. So Tammy, I'll bring it to you first, and then Wes will come to you.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Well, the very first thing I would say is my faith, because I'm a believer in Jesus Christ, and so that's my faith, and a lot of prayer.
Amen.
But at the same time, when I first started in the business, I didn't necessarily have the confidence that I have today. But I mean, so I think that's what I'm saying. When disabled professionals begin to work and begin to see their potential, and they haven't in a long time, it's really empowering. So as I began, the business, I grew in confidence, and like I said, the faith is the number one, but then as I stepped into it, and that's the hard part sometimes for us, is stepping out of that box that we're in,
right,
being willing to take the risk and the chance to do something different and to actually do something. Then I think, every time you do that, you build courage, you build strength, and disabled professionals already have a lot of courage because of, as Wes pointed out, we overcome things daily. So we have a lot of strength, inner strength within us to continue every day. But when you're working and you're seeing those goals recognized as well as rewarded, of course, that always helps us to be able to continue to move further, advancement in other ways. So I guess that's some of the things that have helped me as well. I have a very strong, wonderful family that helps support me as well.
Right. Okay. Wes?
Well, I mean, when we meet with HR folks, we're marketing the person's abilities. So, and a lot of times we want to focus and find out what the company's problems are, because we want to be able to pitch their folks that we're marketing as problem solvers. This is, if you bring this person on, they're going to save you money, they're going to help you solve problems, they're going to be a good employee. So once we start doing that, and we try and learn the business and learn what their needs are, then we try and match up the appropriate talent that we have. Because we have a lot of people in our vocational rehabilitative system with a myriad of different skill sets. So we try and line those up and get to really understand the business and develop the relationships. And I've been doing this for a long time, and there's people that I've known 20 years. And when you know somebody that long, they're more apt. I mean, Tammy took somebody from me that we didn't know if she could work or not. And Tammy, because of her relationship, Tammy trusted me.
Right.
She trusted my judgment, and that's really what it is. I mean, it's kind of like the old adage, if you might have had a friend or something in church that's looking for a job. It's not what you know, it's who you know.
Right. Right. And you know what, Wes, you just brought up another situation. Or another point I'd like to make before I forget about it. When you say it's who you know, and when we look at some people that fall in that category, oftentimes because of their disability, they shy away from knowing a lot of people. So it's very important that anybody that's out there listening all across the globe, that because they can listen, they can hear, and they go back and listen to the archives of the show, and you can share this information out. And I want to make sure that everybody learn that it's best, or we work best, once again, when we step outside of our comfort zone. When we see somebody else that we can lift up, it's our commission to do that. And it's not that it's a hand up, or a hand out. It's just a hand up, lifting somebody else's spirit up sometime and allowing them to go on and be a productive individual, within this particular country, because it's already hard enough now just to be what I'm going to call quote unquote average, but not in a disrespectful way, but just an average individual going out with a college degree. It's already hard enough for that particular category. So when we look at this other population, or these other population, what I'm saying is that people that are supposed to be or consider themselves regular, it's time for us to once again get outside of that comfort zone and help other people to be able to excel. And Tammy, I'll get your response, and then we'll go to Wes.
Yes, I think that's absolutely true. And as much as we've used the word disability tonight, I also want to point out that when one of the things I probably didn't say is that, like, when I do talk to a client or when I talk to an individual that might be coming on our team, we're talking about their abilities, not the disabilities. We are talking about the skill sets they have and the ability to do the job. And so, like, when I talk to a client, I'm talking to them about how I can help them, what abilities our team has to be able to assist them and everything else. So I think that's, that's what we really need to focus on, is that person's ability. So when we look at it, disabled Americans, and we say, okay, that person has that, but what abilities do they have?
Mm-hmm.
How could we place them differently?
Right.
And so I think that's a huge part of the picture as well.
Right. Wes?
Well, I'd like to encourage, everybody that does have disabilities to contact their local vocational rehabilitation department, and that's kind of the first step.
Mm-hmm.
I tell everybody, I take phone calls from folks. I don't turn people away, and I always make time to listen.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what we should be doing. And a lot of times it takes people communicate in different ways, but I've always told people that the first step in trying to understand all this, because the system is very layered. It's like trying to understand the Internal Revenue Service's tax code.
Right.
It's just a very layered service, with all the myriad of programs. But one thing I'd like to offer is I'd be more than willing to be the contact person for anybody on the program that might have a question, because we can tie them into wherever they live. If they're in Louisiana, or if they're in Texas, they're in Illinois, Indiana. There's programs in every state.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the first step. I think you said getting someone out of their comfort zone. That's going to be the first step, is contacting the local Department of Vocational Rehabilitation and having that person say, I'm a person with disability and I want to work.
Right. Well, I'll tell you.
Got to say.
Right. I'll tell you. There's one response out here on the live web that says that's what it takes. People helping other people. Then I have a message sent to me that says, does Tammy offer training and coaching to help motivate and encourage those who want to learn how to work virtually?
Absolutely, yes. If there's somebody out there that wants to do that and wants to learn how to do this, absolutely, I'd be open to that. They can just email me. There's probably a link or something there on your site. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So just contact through there, and I'll be glad to help you.
And Tammy, Wes, you guys just gave me a wonderful idea, and I think Wes would probably, I think he'd like it, because I represent school systems, and we know that school systems, they do have, once again, Section 504 and special ed. Why couldn't agencies like what you guys represent be able to partner like on career day or whatever. So those kids that have the disabilities, they can start to learn how to go through this process on an earlier basis. And there are a lot of grant monies and things like that are out there that would pay for these services to be offered, to the school system. Because, again, I find that once this child graduates from high school, and has already suffered through being called names or whatever the case may be by his or her peers, when they get out of high school, they are just, waiting on a sigh of relief. So look at, let's say when they're going to college or whatever. The thing about it is, what I'm trying to do is build a base right now, tonight, that you guys can actually solidify, because you're in the trenches. I know about it from a legal standpoint. I know about it from a personal standpoint. But for those out there who don't know, this program is to inform some and remind others. In this case, we're informing people tonight because I'm getting a message now that says, interesting program. Thank God for people as caring as they are. You see, and a lot of times it's not just the millions of people. It's that one person that's out there listening that really can take away from what it is that we're doing. So, Wes, how do you feel about maybe partnering with some school systems that deal specifically but not exclusively with individuals that have those exceptionalities and or disabilities?
Well, I mean, in Virginia, we do that. Actually, in the vocational rehab program, they call it transition services, and transition services are counselors that work with students that are in the high school, and we normally will work with a student starting in 10th grade. And if they're going to do post-secondary, then we work with that as well. I can only speak to Virginia, but I know that all the vocational rehab systems in the United States, the VR program's the same. So you have a lot of your counselors in Louisiana, which is where you are, right, Baron?
Yeah,
Okay, so you have counselors, and I actually know people in VR in Louisiana from a conference I went to, but there's counselors that work with those students that have the IEPs and the 504.
Right.
And they're advocates in the school system. And they pick that student, they normally pick up the student in their 10th or 11th grade year, and they find out and say, well, do you want to go to college? If you want to pursue post-secondary, then we try and help out and figure out what your career goal would be. And if you don't want to do post-secondary, what is it that you think you might want to do? Can we get you can we put you into an apprenticeship program? Can we get you some type of other training? So predominantly in the VR system in the Commonwealth of Virginia, we're serving more students than we are adults.
Do you consider that to be a plus or a negative, or is just something that's good overall because you're still serving people?
It's very good, because if you think about it, we spend probably in a year, our budget's $37.9 million. We probably spend about $9.5 million on paying for students to go to college. We pay their tuition.
Are you serious?
For them to go to school. Yeah, we pay their tuition to go to school. And what we do is we help with the accommodations, if they need certain things in their schooling. We also run a technical school, so that you may not want to go to college, but maybe you have good hand-eye coordination. We can teach you how to weld, or we can teach you how to solder circuit boards, or we can teach you how to do all kinds of different vocational things. So our program in the Commonwealth of Virginia, we have a food service program, a CNA, a PCA program, an auto mechanic program. We have a business services program. So just because you're not going to go to college doesn't mean you can't be effective. So we do that, and we have a youth summit. And under the Department of Labor, money comes into the different states. Money comes into Louisiana. Money comes into Virginia. But each state is set up differently on how they spend it. But there's youth. There's a lot of money for youth. We've got a conference coming up June 2nd, where we're going to have over 100 employers on site. We're going to have youth from the ages of 14 to 26. Because in Virginia, you can stay in high school if you're a child with a disability. You can stay in the system until you're 26. So there is a lot. But like I said, the system has so many working parts. You really have to connect yourself with somebody that knows how to direct the parents and the family,
right,
and how to kind of like what you do in the school, and when you do advocacy for some of these young kids and the families, you're there as an advocate for that child on behalf of the parent,
right.
And so when somebody gets involved in their VR system, they need to find somebody that actually has been in the system that knows how to navigate it, help that family navigate that system.
Right. I'll tell you, Tammy and Wes, I got another question that was sent in. How can they be contacted in Louisiana? And see, no one down this way knows anything about that. Tammy, I know that virtual assistance is fairly new. And a lot of people just don't know the benefits of having a virtual assistant. I do, because that's what I have with regards to Administrative Services Direct. And when you talk about the marketing, the email blast and all those other types of things that you guys do, I just think that most people that's out there, employers, they fail to understand the value of what you guys can do at home at a cheaper price, but still get the job done at a better quality than anybody else out there. Tam, I'll let you speak on that, because virtual assistants, I'd imagine, within the next 5 or 10 years, will pretty much be overtaken, just like podcasts and these types of broadcasts over mainstream media. So, Tam, I'll let you chime in.
Thank you. Yes, actually, virtual assistants has been around for a very long time, believe it or not. But it is becoming more and more known now, and part of that actually is due probably to the new healthcare system, because a lot of smaller businesses really can't afford the benefits anymore, and so they're looking for other options out there, and we provide that for them, because, as you said, we can do anything from administrative to social media, marketing, branding. I mean, we do it all: bookkeeping, websites, everything, even some videos. So there's so many things that we can do at a less expensive price than hiring somebody in-house, especially for startups and small businesses, or those who are just entrepreneurs themselves to work out of their home. I mean, it's a great way to do it, because you don't have to pay somebody full-time. You're only paying, for the hours they use, and that's it. And so it's a really great option. And one thing I did want to speak to, and we really don't have a lot of time to go into this, but
yeah, Tammy, go ahead. You got time.
We have a whole nother hour.
Yeah. We got time to go into what you want to go into.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, one of the other things that that I wanted to say. Well, first of all, Wes, you're going to have millions of teenagers moving here soon to Virginia after all of that about the youth, But we still do have as much as we do in Virginia, and it is wonderful. And like I said, I really encourage people, just as Wes does, to get in touch with their Department of Rehabilitation, because that is one of the first steps, to be able to find out what resources there are available to them. Having said that, there are still ways that people fall through the system, or, as I said in the beginning, either that or they have benefits taken away because they're trying to work and things like that. On my end, as an employer, that's a bit frustrating on my end.
Right.
Now, I know that Wes works with the larger companies, and it's a little bit different. And then there's also the Ticket to Work program, which is also a little bit different. And Wes can talk about some of those. So it also depends on what benefits you already are having. But so as an employer, that is one of the struggles as well, is making sure we don't take benefits away from those we're trying to help.
Okay. So it's really, Tammy, I guess you're saying that one should, and Wes has expressed it, and I'm trying to make sure that both of you guys are saying the same thing. Knowledge of what exists is very important with regards to helping this group of people, correct?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Okay, and you gain this knowledge, number one, because there's a caller that's keep asking that question. So in Louisiana, they would be able to go to DAR to find information.
You know what they can do? You can give them my phone number. It's
Okay.
804.
Okay, 804
652
652
7706, and you can have them call me directly.
Okay, that's
And that's what it's going to take, is somebody that's going to take 5 minutes to put them in touch with the right person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this is for Larry Bell out of Montgomery, Louisiana, which is down south Louisiana, south of me. And they also say that, yes, we need to know a lot of guys come out of high school and still want to learn how to weld carpentry and do plumbing and things of that nature, even if they have, because some parts of Louisiana is 100% economically deprived. There are no industries, and there's only, like mom and pop jobs. And in certain places, there is no Walmart. There's only like Family Dollar, a Dollar General store, and people are always pushed to the side, and I resent anybody pushing a disabled person or anybody who cannot help themselves 100% adequately. So I want to make sure that listeners that are out there, those that are out there live now, that's on the line and listening on the web, whether they're on YouTube, whether they're on Spreaker.com, or whether they're on Blog Talk Radio, I want to make sure that when they go back and listen to the archive, that they understand that, again, people just need a helping hand. And just because you give a helping hand, it does not mean that you're giving a handout. And I venture to say that Tammy, nor Wes, or anybody else would want you to just come up and give them something without earning. They want a chance to be considered just like anybody else. And it's our goal and it's our commission to do specifically just that. Tammy or Wes, is there any other area that we have not covered that you guys would like to cover? Because once again, the program is not about the Smoking Glass Hour. It's about Tammy and Wes, how to empower disabled professionals to work with while navigating our system. Let me ask you this, Tammy. When you say our system, are you specifically talking about the system that's set up within this country or some other type system?
No, the system that's set up, like disability,
Okay.
Wes can talk about the different types. But yeah, like the disability programs and the other programs that are strictly within either the state or the government, because there are both, and those types of programs, because like you said, knowledge is the powerful part of this, and once you know what you're able to earn and what you can't earn and things of that nature, it really helps, especially if you're going for employment. And I really encourage any disabled professional to be encouraged to get in touch with the Department of Rehab and to try, to work virtually or any other way if they can be employed, because it really is an amazing experience. And I think that if they just step out of that box and try something new, I think they'll find themselves empowered.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Wes, you want to jump in on that?
I think if anyone has any questions from the program, that you can have them call me directly. I'd be more than happy to interface. We sit on there's a national commission of VR voc rehab folks, so we have a conference call every month with people in Louisiana, Texas, and all across the United States. So if the person you had mentioned, Baron, has a question, I'd be more than happy to talk to them, take some notes on it, do an email, and get it sent over so that we can have the people in Louisiana respond.
Okay.
We have somebody meet with this gentleman.
Let me ask you this.
Wes is a man of his word.
I can tell that, and I was going to get to that before we ended the broadcast, because anytime a man or a woman give out their personal cell phone number live over the radio, that means that they care, because most people, they won't even give their number out in a personal conversation. So Wes, I want to encourage you, and I want to encourage Tammy, because what you guys are doing, you guys have brought more light to me, because like I said, I deal with it, but not as specific as you guys on a daily basis. So when we look at all of these things that are going on, my other question is this that just came to my mind. We know that everybody in Washington, D.C. or in the state capitol, they have some of the largest lobbying guys and ladies and gentlemen that are out there. Does the disabled have lobbyists that go before Congress and the Senate on behalf of their needs, their concerns, and try to get certain funding that can make it more adequate for you guys to go out and get jobs and things of that nature, because we know that lobbying is important. And if not, then maybe we need to look, or can look, at the fact of building a coalition out of the 50 states with regards to people going and supporting and defending the rights of the disabled.
Well, there's certainly, especially within organizations and certain disabilities, like with MS and with lupus and with the different types of disabilities, there's always been a huge lobbying type of thing. But as far as disabilities in general as a whole, Wes, maybe you can speak with that.
Well, I mean, there's the office of there's the federal government runs. It's a wing. It's the arm of the Department of Labor. It's called the Office of Disability Employment Programs for People with Disabilities. It's called ODEP.
Okay.
And they do a lot of lobbying. But a lot of believe it or not, I think a lot of lobbying really is more done on the state level.
Mm-hmm.
And state government. I mean, our General Assembly is in session now, so there's several things that we're tracking.
Okay.
And things that we're doing.
Right.
But a lot of the lobbying is people are more affected by local law than they are federal.
Exactly.
There's more laws in Louisiana that are passed by y'all's House and Senate that affects families than what the federal government does. And it's the same thing in the Commonwealth of Virginia. So, but like Tammy said, there's fragmented groups, that do things. But there's also the Office of Disability Employment Programs that get drawdown money from Department of Labor, and in the Commonwealth of Virginia, it was $269 million that we got.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's usually, now I will say one positive thing too. Most of the time, I've never really seen funding for people with disabilities to be cut, because what politician wants to be known for cutting services to people with disabilities?
Mm-hmm.
So it's really an area that's kind of left alone, I think, for the most part. A lot of the federal money is what sustains the VR programs. It's the matching funds that come from the state,
right,
that's usually pulled back
mm-hmm.
because of local budgetary issues.
Mm-hmm.
So, we're pretty much left alone. And then in recent events of all the shootings you've seen,
right,
and things on TV, we've actually gotten more money
mm-hmm.
to help with the mental health issues that
right.
are going on.
That's what I was just about to ask you. Does mental health and the disabled kind of coexist? How does that work, Tammy and Wes?
Well, mental health is a disability. I mean, so I guess they would coexist in the same framework. Would
okay.
You, Tammy?
Yes. And when I interview somebody, I really don't specifically ask what their disability is, and a lot of times I do it on the phone or virtually.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't always know unless, somebody, their counselor, has already told me or something like that. So I don't necessarily know what their disability is when they come to me. So, I think it is kind of all put together in many ways.
Right. Well, let me ask you this, Tammy and Wes, and I always do this because I'm a student of politics, and I love it, and most people think that it's boring. So in 1993, I decided to run for office and got elected and been elected since that time. I'm listening to Wes, and I'm listening to you. Wes, specifically, because of what you're involved in and some of the things that you're doing. Do you see yourself down the road at any point in time getting a little bit more actively involved in politics and perhaps running for office? Tammy, you first, and then Wes.
I'm just, honestly, I am very happy with where I am and with my company and growing that and helping on an individual level, encourage businesses to hire disabled employees. So I don't necessarily see myself in that role, but Wes, I think you're being challenged.
I mean, I've got 8 more years that I'm going to work, and then I'll probably end up doing something else. But I sit on some boards and commissions right now for the state.
Uh-huh.
But I've never thought of politics just because it's just it's not a Baron, you've run. I mean, it's not it's not it can be good and bad. I just don't know if I'd want to put my family through something like that.
Right. Well, let me rephrase it, because when I got involved and remain involved as a public servant, which is totally different than the politics of it, because politicians go out and do things for selfish motives. They cannot pinpoint the basic fundamentals. But a public servant, they are willing to make sacrifices. They're willing to be non-self-serving, and they want to help the people that they were elected to represent. And the reason why I asked that, Wes, is because most of the time when you talk to individuals and they are very well versed in what it is that they're talking about, they can actually defend what it is that they're talking about. And see, I gravitate toward people like you and Tammy, because I'm actually enjoying this conversation. One, because I'm learning something. Two, I know if I'm learning something, somebody else is, because I'm receiving a lot of the feedback by way of text messages. Now, most of the time, and I'm going to do this, most of the time, Tammy and Wes, when we open up the lines for questions, most people, they stay on the line, and that's respected. And some people don't like to talk live on the radio. So when I open up the lines and there's no caller that's saying something, rest assured there are callers out there. But sometimes people like to listen in, kind of like the minister in the church preaching to the congregation. They much rather listen than talk. So I'm going to open up the lines right now. If there's any caller that's out there who would like to engage, ask Tammy or Wes a question, they may do so. Tonight we're talking about how to empower disabled professionals to work while navigating our system. The lines are open at this point. Judging by ways and actions, there is no one that's out there who would ask a question. But like I said, we're receiving the question that's out there. Wes, Tammy, I'm going to allow you guys to give your closing statement, and I want to make sure that any contact information that you want out there, any web information that you have that you want out there, you can broadcast it now, because what happens is immediately after this show, you can share it with your Facebook friends, you can share it with your Twitter friends, your Tumblr, WordPress, or anywhere that's out there, because it's an MP3 format. You can text it on your phone. You can go back and listen to it on your phone. You can go back and listen to it on YouTube, TuneIn, I believe iTunes, Spreaker.com, as well as Blog Talk Radio. So you have many different ways that this archive show can be heard. So I want to make sure that when people do go back tonight and tomorrow specifically, because there's a high volume of people that go back and listen, I want to make sure that you guys provide them some information that they can learn from what you guys have given tonight, and be able to share that and use it tomorrow with other people. So Tammy, I'll start with you first, and then Wes will come to you.
Thank you. I really appreciate being on tonight. I just really want to encourage disabled professionals, because being one myself as a disabled professional, it's really hard to step out and take that leap. And it started slow, and started working just part-time, and I'm glad to say that I work much more than full-time now in running the business and everything else. But I just really encourage disabled professionals, just take that step, that first step. Make that call to Wes or to your Department of Rehab, or call me. My number is 804-723-5491. That's 804-723-5491. Or they can also email me at tammysoffices.com. And I'd be glad to talk with anybody about it who might be struggling with that, or stepping out in that, because there is a little fear involved in that. Mm-hmm. Unknown, especially for a disabled professional, because we're already dealing with so many other things. And so I just really encourage them to step out in that direction.
Right. Tammy, thanks. Wes, we're going to bring it to you.
Well, I mean, like I said, Baron, thanks for having me on tonight. And I do want to encourage people, if they have questions, to please call me. It's 804-652-7706. If you want to get an idea about what vocational rehabilitation is, you can visit our Commonwealth of Virginia website. It's going to basically be the same information as any other state would have. It's www.va. Be more than willing to help out.
And I'll tell you, as much information as we have regarding Tammy and Wes. We're going to continue to put that information out there, share it among our individual listeners and followers. Tammy and Wes, you guys have done a wonderful job. When I say guys, I mean ladies and guys. No offense to either individual. I wish the very best for both of you. Please feel free, if there's something else that's going on that's out there that you guys want the message to be heard, feel free to contact us, and we'll be glad to schedule you to put you back on, because we want to make sure that we help in the process to make a difference. Tonight we've been talking to Miss Tammy Durden and Mr. Wes Seaton, talking tonight about how to empower disabled professionals to work while navigating our system. Tammy Durden and William Wes Seaton, thank you guys for calling in, and this will conclude the segment of the broadcast on the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass. Have a good night, Tammy and Wes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. If you don't mind, we're going to pause just briefly and have one commercial, and we'll come back and we'll close out the segment for tonight. So just stay tuned if you don't mind. Stay tuned.
It's time to take back control of our society. Today's world requires an open and honest discussion about the current events. On the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass, our goal is to engage people from different walks of life into a healthy discussion, creating a positive outcome. When it comes to global events, tune in to the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass on Monday nights at 7:30. We don't just listen to the news, we bring you the news.
We're back broadcasting live. You just heard it. We try to engage people from different walks of life. Tonight, we just did exactly what we said we try to do. We had Miss Tammy Durden and Mr. Wes Seaton on with the Virginia Department of Rehabilitation. Tonight we were talking about how to empower disabled professionals to work while navigating our system. And tonight we want to make sure that everybody understand and learn that once you come out of your comfort zone and help other people, you can have a better quality of life. Now, helping somebody does not always require money. Sometimes it requires just a word of confidence. Sometimes it requires just a pat on the back, just a simple hug, or just some words of encouragement that allows people to really understand that they are just as valued as anybody else. So what we want to do is make sure that when people come on our broadcast, on our program, on our show, we want to make sure that we try to do exactly what we set out to do 3 years ago. We may not always agree. We may not always disagree. But when the smoke clear and the dust settle, we want to make sure that we have allowed everybody that has a voice and want to be heard, that we allow them to be heard in hopes of making a difference, not just in your own community, not just in your own state, but throughout the country and abroad. You've been listening to the Smoking Glass Hour with Baron Glass on WMAD 24-hour global radio. Tonight's topic, how to empower disabled professionals to work while navigating our system. Tonight's guest was Miss Tammy Durden, President and CEO of Tammy's Office Solution, and Mr. William Seaton, Business Development, Commonwealth of Virginia. Thanks for listening in, and have a good night.